mind. I remember when I lost my mind. There was something so pleasant about that place.
Hello everyone out there in the YouTube world, this is Sean, and this video is going to be based on Genesis chapter 1. Good old Bereshith 1 out of the Holy Bible, or if you want to be technically correct, the Tanakh for Judaism. And this is going to be a video that's going to be a first a series of videos that I'm going to attempt, and notice I say the word attempt and not lightly. I'm going to go ahead and attempt to do a series on the various chapters of the Bible and try to follow it through from Genesis to Revelation. And of course this will all be dependent on how well these kind of things are received, and my own desire to continue in it, based on what I see. So I'm going to attempt this, and I'm going to start off with Genesis chapter 1. My next video will deal with Genesis chapter 2. And you can also check out these in written form at my blog site, Alan Zone, and that's at alanzone.blogspot.com, and it's there right there on the screen for you. You go ahead and check that out, and feel free to support that blogspot, by subscribing or just leaving some comments or whatnot. I look forward to the support. Anyhow, getting to the subject, we got Genesis chapter 1 here, and I mean, you've got to remember that this is the all-important introduction from God himself. Here's the very first piece of this huge letter from this eternal deity, from him to us. Well, at least it's supposed to be. And I mean, this is supposed to be eternal, all-knowing being. I mean, he even knows the future already, and what we're going to be doing and what we're going to be knowing, and all these different things. So keep that in mind here when we go over this whole chapter of Genesis chapter 1, this creation account, this story here. Because when you read it, I mean, when you really read Genesis chapter 1, I mean, the way I come out of it is, it sounds like a story being told by a tribesman to his tribes at the time, and then now it's finally been pinned down in this form that has been all of a sudden called eventually the Tanakh, and eventually by Christians the Holy Bible. I mean, if you look at this, you'll notice that there's nothing special. There's nothing special said in this account. There's nothing special told in this account. No information given to us that sounds like anything that comes from an eternal God. The things that are spoken about in Genesis chapter 1 are basic things regarding the earth and space and whatnot. I mean, there's nothing that marks that these people at that time were being given knowledge and information that went way beyond what people could have possibly known at that time. You see, I can understand that this was a prophet being given some information that the rest of that society at that time did not understand, nor did the rest of the world even accept. But then today, we come to find out through information and our inventions and technology that those things were indeed true, and that the rest of the world surrounding that prophet was wrong. That would show some signatures of divinity, whereas we see here that there's nothing special given to us from this Genesis account. Nothing goes beyond the knowledge of that time, if you would. Okay, let's talk about some examples. For instance, I mean, we get into the distant stars. Now, these are mentioned in this account. God created the stars, and I find it interesting because there's a mention of these stars that are light years away. I mean, just, oh man, it's ridiculous, even what the nearest star is in reference to Earth. But yet there's no mention of the much closer neighboring planets that are in this solar system. They're just completely left off the map. No mention of them whatsoever that there are these other planets in the neighborhood. And I find it interesting because, you see, ancient tribes people would have easily seen these specks in the sky, in the night sky, and called them stars, and would have seen the sun and the moon, the obvious stuff, right? But they would not have known, unless they were privy to some kind of special information, that there were other planets around. They just weren't alive like ours is, at least, I mean, that's what we assume anyway. Maybe scientists will be able to one day show differently, like they are doing with Mars. Anyhow, that's interesting. You got a planet like Mars, it's called Earth's twin, but there's no mention of this. You see, the ancient tribes people would not have known these things. They cannot easily just see that in the sky, but we today can know these things because, I mean, we've sent, satellites out there. We've sent, we have telescopes out there that can see these things. And of course, even now we have the knowledge to be able to look into the night sky and sometimes be able to see even with the naked eye, which little glimmer of light out there is a planet and which one are just other stars. Anyhow, there's another example too that I find interesting. That is that the stars and the sun are mentioned as if they're two separate things. And I can understand that critical mistake. I mean, if you're an ancient person at the time, you're looking at the sun, it's a big, huge yellow ball of heat. And then you see these little specks out there in the night sky. And I mean, one is there in the daytime and one is not visible until the nighttime. And they're far different, vastly different in size. So you're going to think, okay, well, that's the sun. And then these things over here, they're the stars. No, they're totally separate items. Whereas we have the knowledge, because of our technology and what we know, to realize that the sun is nothing more than another star amongst these zillions of stars that are out there. They're the same thing. But see, they're mentioned as separate things in the scriptures, and there's no explanation whatsoever to tell us that, oh, these are one and the same thing. These are just other suns out there that are further away with their own little solar system, if you would, and they look like these stars because they're so far away from Earth. And I find that interesting. You see, you can tell that this is coming from basically a shaman at the time. You notice that there's a huge lack of any mention of the grand expanse of the universe. There's none. I mean, there's a lot of mention regarding Earth and things that take place on Earth, but there's just no mention of the universe itself and how it came about. There's no special details accounting for how the universe was put together. We just hear about the heavens and the earth, and then pretty much it goes from there into everything directly related to the earth. And I know some people can sit there and argue, well, what do we care to hear about anything else but the earth since we're here on the earth? Well, given what we know today, I would assume that a all-eternal, all-knowing God would figure out that we would eventually come to understand this realm. But we still have questions about that grand expanse beyond this earth. And that, a couple things would have been nice to know prior to us having to find out on our own. So I find these things interesting. This account would have a person thinking that, that all the earth was the earth and the heavens above it. That's it. Nothing more, nothing less. Why is there no other further details mentioned? Genesis 1 seems to be lacking big time. I mean, for me, the conclusion of the matter for Genesis chapter 1 is that basically you have a tribal man's story that was given and passed down through the generations and told at bedtime or whatever, and it finally got pinned down into this what will become a holy book. And at the end of this story, the stamp of God was put on there as being responsible, as being the first cause for this great story of the heavens and the earth and how it came about. The very obvious things that don't show anything regarding that divine knowledge or revelation, such as the grass and the fish and the animals and the sky and the sun, the moon, the stars. I mean, come on, folks. Can we not see that this sounds like somebody back in the Bronze Age that wanted to pin down this story and give God, this God, the credit? That's what I think it sounds like. But anyhow, that's my take on Genesis chapter 1. It was not much. Genesis chapter 1 is a very short chapter, but tune in for next time when I'm going to deal with Genesis chapter 2, where we get into even more silly myth and folklore and madness told by ancient people that are held on as eternal truths today by some, unfortunately. Anyhow, this is Sean, and you folks out there in the YouTube world,